I'm recording this on December 28th, 2024, 3 days before whatever's supposed to happen. My name is Marcus Reed. I'm 41 years old, a wildlife biologist from Washington State, and 4 months ago, a Bigfoot walked into my research camp, spoke to me in broken English, and gave me a warning about 2025 that's kept me awake every night since. Then he disappeared into the forest, and I haven't seen him since. But I'm seeing the signs he warned me about, and they're getting worse. Comment below right now if you've noticed anything strange happening lately. Weird weather patterns, animals acting unusual, because what I'm about to tell you might explain everything. Let me take you back to August 15th, 2024. I was deep in the Olympic National Forest conducting a routine population study on Roosevelt elk. My camp was set up in a remote valley about 20 miles from the nearest trail, accessible only by a brutal 8-hour hike through terrain that most people would consider impassable. I'd been there for 2 weeks, monitoring elk migration patterns using trail cameras and GPS tracking data. Boring work, predictable work, scientific work that didn't involve anything remotely supernatural. Until the night everything changed. It was 11:47 p.m. when I heard the footsteps outside my tent. Heavy, deliberate, not trying to be quiet. My first thought was bear, but the stride pattern was wrong. Bears lumber. This was bipedal, walking upright. Human-like, except no human should have been within 20 miles of my position. I grabbed my flashlight and unzipped the tent slowly, my heart hammering. The beam caught movement at the edge of my camp, maybe 30 feet away. And that's when I saw him. 8 feet tall, maybe more, covered in dark reddish-brown hair that looked almost rust-colored in my flashlight. Shoulders so broad they seemed impossible. But it was his face that stopped my breath. Not quite human, not quite ape, something in between that conveyed intelligence I'd never seen in any animal's eyes. We stared at each other for what felt like forever, but was probably only seconds. I should have been terrified. I should have run. But something about the way he stood there, hands at his sides, posture non-threatening, made me freeze in place. Then he did something that changed everything. He spoke. "Danger," he said, the word coming out harsh and guttural, like his vocal cords weren't designed for human speech. "Next year, danger comes." Hit that subscribe button if you're starting to understand this isn't just another Bigfoot story. Drop a like if your hands are shaking right now, because mine were shaking so badly I could barely hold the flashlight. I stood there in shock, my scientific mind trying to process what I'd just heard. Bigfoot was supposed to be a myth, a legend, something that didn't exist outside of blurry photos and hoaxes. But here was one standing in my camp, speaking English, warning me about something. "What?" I managed to choke out. "What danger?" The creature, I couldn't think of him as just an animal anymore, not after he'd spoken, took a step closer. I forced myself not to retreat, even though every instinct screamed at me to run. "Sky breaks," he said, the word coming out harsh and guttural, like his vocal cords weren't designed for human speech. "Earth shakes, water rises. 2025, humans must prepare." He pointed at the sky with one massive hand, then at the ground, then made a rising motion with both hands. His meaning was clear, even if his English was limited. Something catastrophic was coming, something that would affect the sky, the land, and the oceans. "I don't understand," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "What's going to happen? When in 2025? What should we do?" The creature tilted his head, studying me with those impossibly intelligent eyes. "You see signs already. Animals know. Earth knows. Only humans blind." He tapped his chest. "My people watch long time. We see pattern. This happened before." "Before?" I repeated. "When? What pattern?" But he shook his head, seeming frustrated by the limits of language. "Cannot explain all words. You science man, you watch nature, you see changes, yes? Wrong changes?" I thought about the anomalies I'd been documenting over the past year. Elk migration routes shifting in ways that didn't make sense. Bird populations declining faster than climate models predicted. Unusual seismic activity in regions that shouldn't be seismically active. Unexplained magnetic field fluctuations. Data that didn't fit any existing models. I'd attributed it all to climate change, to normal variation, to instrument error. But what if it was something more? Yes, I admitted. I've seen changes, things that don't make sense. He nodded slowly. Humans build machines, collect data, but not understand. We watch, we feel, we know. He placed a hand flat against his chest. Earth speaks to those who listen. Comment, I've seen it, if you've noticed weird stuff happening this year. Strange weather, animals behaving oddly, because you're not imagining it, and it's getting worse. Over the next 3 hours, the creature, he eventually indicated I could call him something that sounded like Kahnta, which he said meant watcher in his people's language, tried to explain what was coming. His English was broken, limited to maybe a few hundred words, but his meaning came through in gestures, sounds, and a kind of intuitive communication that went beyond language. From what I could piece together, Kahnta's people had been observing human civilization for thousands of years. They'd seen patterns repeat across time, periods of stability followed by catastrophic changes. According to him, we were entering one of those change periods. He showed me drawings in the dirt using a stick, wavy lines representing instability, sharp peaks representing sudden events, circles representing cycles. 2025 begins change, he said, pointing at one of his drawings. First small, then bigger, then he made an explosive gesture with his hands. Earth corrects itself, always does. Corrects itself? I asked, my scientific skepticism warring with the impossible reality of having this conversation. You mean natural disasters? Climate change? Kahnta shook his head, frustrated again. More than weather, more than earthquake, earth and sun and, he pointed at the sky, struggling for words. Space? All connected, all changing together. Humans see separate things. We see one thing, all connected. He then did something that still gives me chills. He pulled out a piece of bark from somewhere in his fur and showed me carvings, symbols that looked ancient, depicting what appeared to be astronomical events, comets, solar phenomena, planetary alignments, all annotated with marks that seemed to indicate dates or cycles. Our record, Kahnta explained. We carve what we see, pattern always same, sky changes, earth answers, life adapts or dies. He pointed at a series of symbols. Here, last time, many humans die, animals die, world different after. I studied the bark, my hands trembling. When was this last time? He made a sound that might have been counting, then held up fingers. 10, then again, and again, then showed something around his wrist, a simple braided cord with knots tied in it. He pointed at it, then at me, making it clear these represented significant time periods. My mind raced through human catastrophes in human history, major extinction events, climate catastrophes, the Younger Dryas, the Bronze Age collapse, civilizations that had vanished seemingly overnight. Are you saying this has happened before? That your people have records going back thousands of years? Kahnta nodded emphatically. We remember, humans forget. Build cities, think safe, then Earth changes, cities fall. Humans start over. We survive because we listen, we adapt, we remember. Like this video right now if you're starting to realize this might be real. Comment, what do we do? Because that's exactly what I asked him next. If this is coming, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, what can we do? How do we prepare? Kahnta was quiet for a long moment. His expression, yes, I could read expression in that not quite human face, showing something like sadness. Some will survive, some will not. Humans too many, too dependent on. He gestured around at my camp, my equipment, everything representing modern civilization, things that break. You're saying civilization will collapse? Not all, but change, big change. He tapped his head, then his heart. Humans who survive are ones who remember how to live without machines, who listen to Earth, who help each other. He paused, then added, who believe when warned. That last part hit hard. He'd come to warn me. But who would believe me? A wildlife biologist claiming a Bigfoot had given him a prophecy about 2025? I'd be laughed out of my profession, dismissed as mentally unstable, lose my career, my credibility, everything I'd worked for. As if reading my thoughts, Kahnta said, "You tell others, they not believe. This always way. We try warn before. Humans think we myth, we stupid animals, but we are not animals. We are old people. We remember what humans forget." "Then why tell me?" I asked. "If nobody will believe me, why warn me at all?" "Because some will believe," he said simply. "Some will prepare, some will survive, and after, when humans rebuild, maybe remember better, maybe learn, maybe not make same mistakes." He looked at me intently. "You have knowledge, you have voice. Some will listen. Save those you can." He then spent the next hour giving me specifics. The warnings were both vague and terrifyingly precise. He described a series of events that would unfold throughout 2025, each one escalating. Early 2025, unusual solar activity, magnetic field disruptions, technology problems. Kahnta said his people had observed the sun waking up in ways it hadn't in many cycles. Sky fire stronger, Earth's shield weaker, he explained, making gestures indicating the Earth's magnetic field weakening. Spring 2025, weather pattern collapse. Kahnta described it as seasons confused, winters where there should be spring, drought where there should be rain, storms with fury unseen in human lifetimes. Summer 2025, seismic events. Not just earthquakes, but volcanic activity. Mountains that sleep will wake, he said. He pointed at a map I had, indicating regions around the Pacific Rim. Ring of fire burns bright. Earth releases pressure. Fall 2025, the big event. He couldn't or wouldn't describe it precisely, but his gestures made it clear. Something from space. Sky stone, he called it. An asteroid or comet that would cause massive disruption. Not extinction level, but enough to change everything. After this, Kahnta said gravely, world different, new world, old rules gone. Humans who survive must adapt, like my people adapted long ago. Subscribe if you want to know what happened next. Comment where you're watching from so I know how far this warning needs to spread, because what I'm about to tell you will prove he was right.
I asked him how he knew all this. How could his people predict these events? Kahnta's explanation was frustratingly simple: observation. His people had been watching the sky and land for longer than human civilization had existed. They recognized patterns, they knew the signs, and they'd seen all of this before. "Your scientists," he said, "collect data short time, decades, maybe centuries. My people watch thousands of years, see big patterns. Earth has rhythm, sun has rhythm. Sometimes rhythms align. When they do, change comes." He showed me more of his bark carvings, explaining that his people maintained historical records going back much further than human civilization. They'd witnessed the rise and fall of human societies, always from the shadows, always watching, rarely intervening. "Why hide?" I asked. "If you're intelligent, if you can help, why stay hidden?" Kahnta's expression turned sad again. "Long ago, we lived with humans, taught humans, helped humans, but humans feared what different. Humans kill what fear. We learned survival is silence. We watch, we remember, we survive. Humans rise and fall, we remain." As dawn approached, Kahnta began preparing to leave. He gathered his bark records, made sure his presence had left no obvious traces, but before going, he gave me one final warning. "You will see signs increase, each month bigger signs. By October, November, December, Earth shaking all around, weather chaos, technology failing, animals fleeing. Humans will panic, governments will lie, say all normal, but you will know truth. Prepare yourself, prepare those who listen." He placed one massive hand on my shoulder, the gesture surprisingly gentle. My people survive because we adapt, we remember, and we help our own. Humans must do same. Forget old divisions, forget old angers. When Earth changes, only community survives. Then he spoke his final words to me. I go now. Watch for signs I described. When sky stone comes in fall, go to high ground, far from coasts, away from cities. Take those you love. Take knowledge that matters. Old world ends, new world begins. Make it better world than this one. And with that, he turned and walked into the forest. I stood there, flashlight in hand, watching him disappear into the trees as the first light of dawn filtered through the canopy. Within seconds, he was gone, moving through the forest with a silence and grace that seemed impossible for something his size. Comment "I believe" if you're still with me, because the next part is where everything he said started coming true. For the first week after Kahnta's visit, I questioned my sanity. Had I hallucinated? Was I experiencing some kind of psychotic break brought on by isolation? I reviewed my trail camera footage obsessively. I'd caught glimpses, a massive shape moving at the edge of frames, heat signatures that were too large and bipedal to be anything known to science, but nothing clear, nothing that would convince anyone else. Then I started noticing the things he'd warned me about. In September, solar activity spiked beyond anything scientists had predicted. CMEs, coronal mass ejections, were hitting Earth with increasing frequency. The news reported it as unusual but not concerning. GPS systems were glitching, satellites were experiencing malfunctions. The northern lights were visible at latitudes where they'd never been seen before. By October, the weather patterns were wrong, catastrophically wrong. Hurricane season was supposed to be winding down, but instead, hurricanes were intensifying. The jet stream was behaving erratically, causing extreme weather events worldwide. Record-breaking temperatures in some regions, unseasonable cold in others. Meteorologists couldn't explain it. Their models weren't predicting it. Everything was off.
November brought the earthquakes, small ones at first, scattered around the Pacific Ring of Fire, then bigger ones. Volcanoes that had been dormant for centuries showed signs of waking. Yellowstone's caldera registered unprecedented seismic activity. Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, Krakatoa, all showing activity. Scientists urged calm, said it was within normal ranges, but those of us paying attention saw the pattern Kahnta had described. And then, on December 15, 2024, NASA quietly updated their near-Earth object tracking data. An asteroid they'd been monitoring, previously thought to pose no threat, had altered its trajectory. New calculations showed it would pass dangerously close to Earth in late September 2025. They downplayed it publicly. No cause for concern, they said, well within safe margins. But I saw the numbers. I understood what Kahnta had meant by sky stone. I tried warning people, posted my experience online, shared the data, explained the patterns. Some believed me, most didn't. I was called a conspiracy theorist, a fraud, someone seeking attention. My colleagues distanced themselves. My career hung by a thread. But here's the thing. Everything Kahnta described is happening right now. In December 2024, we're seeing unprecedented solar activity. The magnetic poles are shifting faster than expected. Weather patterns are collapsing. Seismic activity is increasing. And an asteroid is heading our way that might not be as safe as NASA claims. Drop a like if you've noticed these things too. Comment what strange things you've witnessed this year. Let's build a record together. The scientific community is starting to panic, though they won't admit it publicly. I've been contacted by colleagues who've seen the same data, who recognize the patterns. We're forming informal networks, sharing information that's being suppressed or downplayed by official channels. Because the truth is, governments know something is coming. They're just not telling the public. I spent the last 3 months preparing based on Kahnta's warnings. I've moved my family to high ground in eastern Washington, far from the coast. I've stockpiled supplies, not for the apocalypse, but for massive disruption to infrastructure. I've connected with others who believe, forming a community that can support each other when things get bad. and I've been documenting everything, creating a record of what Kahnta told me and how it's coming true, so that when this is over, we'll have evidence. We'll remember. We'll know that we were warned, that someone tried to help us, and that we should have listened earlier. Here's what I know will happen in 2025 based on Kahnta's warnings and the patterns I'm seeing. January to March, increasing technology failures, power grid instabilities, communication disruptions. Solar activity will peak, causing widespread electronics problems. Governments will blame cyber attacks or technical glitches, but it's the sun and Earth's weakening magnetic field. April to June, weather catastrophes, massive storms, unexpected droughts and floods, agricultural disruption leading to food shortages. This is when people will start realizing something is seriously wrong. Governments will struggle to maintain order. July to September, major seismic events, earthquakes above 7.0 in multiple locations, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis. Coastal areas will be evacuated. This is when the asteroid passes closest to Earth, late September. Whether it hits, grazes, or simply causes gravitational disruptions, this will be the turning point. October to December, the aftermath. Infrastructure collapsed, supply chains broken, governments struggling to maintain control, but also rebuilding, communities coming together, people learning to live differently. The beginning of whatever comes next. I'm recording this on December 28, 2024, 3 days before 2025 begins. I've done everything I can to prepare. I've warned everyone who would listen. I've documented Kahnta's visit and his warnings. Now all I can do is wait and see if he was right. But I'll tell you this, every sign he described is happening. Every pattern he showed me in those dirt drawings is playing out in real-time data. Every warning he gave me is coming true. And if he's been right about everything else, then what's coming in 2025 will change our world forever. Comment your survival plan below. Tell me where you're watching from and whether you're preparing. Share this video with everyone you care about. Because if Kahnta was right, we have less than a year before everything changes. I don't know if I'll ever see Kahnta again. He said his people would survive because they adapt, they remember, and they help their own. He was giving humanity the same advice. Adapt, remember, help each other. Maybe that's the real message. Maybe the specifics of what's coming don't matter as much as how we face it. Maybe the warning isn't about the catastrophe itself, but about remembering what matters: community, knowledge, resilience, and compassion. Kahnta's people have survived for thousands of years by staying hidden, by listening to the earth, by working together. Maybe it's time humans remembered how to do the same. Maybe that's why he took the risk of revealing himself to me, not just to warn about 2025, but to remind us that survival isn't about technology or civilization, it's about connection to each other and to the world we live in. This is Marcus Reed, wildlife biologist, recording on December 28, 2024. Whatever happens in 2025, remember that we were warned. Remember that someone tried to help us, and remember that the old world ending means a new world beginning. Let's make it better. Kahnta, if you're out there, if your people are watching, thank you. I heard your warning, I did what I could, and I hope that whatever survives the coming storm remembers that once a creature we thought was myth proved he was real and he tried to save us. The signs are all around us. The warnings have been given. Now it's up to us what we do next. Subscribe, share, prepare, and may we all survive what's coming.